So, Sean Strickland. When he's not saying nonsense on social media or getting into drama with streamers, he's actually a pretty good MMA fighter. After a lackluster performance trying to regain his title against Ricus du Plessis, he's now looking to bounce back against the rising Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Strickland is a divisive figure to say the least. Some fans seem more attached to his politically incorrect online persona than his actual MMA skills and treat him like a grandiose badass. Others call him overrated, boring, and even a disgrace to the sport. I land somewhere in the middle. He can be repetitive and tedious at times, but he's also a skilled, unusual fighter, and his success hasn't been luck. So, what's actually going on with Sean Strickland's style? Let's talk about his choices, his strengths, and his limitations. Sean Strickland's style is very peculiar. He fights with a rare mix of a tall, narrow stance and a shell guard, something parts of the fandom have mocked as the iCarly guard. A tall, narrow stance in MMA is more often employed by kickers, even though there have been boxers who fight tall at a world-class level. It is a good stance to check kicks, something Strickland has been inconsistent at throughout his career, but also something he really dialed in and took full advantage of in his championship-winning performance against Israel Adesanya. For Strickland though, the main benefit of his stance is the access it gives him to front kicks with both legs, combined with his sharp jab that gives him consistent range control, steady attrition, and reliable output. If we move to his upper body, Strickland fights behind a shell guard, something that is associated with the shoulder roll. You protect your lead side behind your lead shoulder as you blade your stance and use your guard to cover your body and rear side. While Strickland will shoulder roll right hands with consistency, his defensive style is not that of a boxer with a flowchart from there. Instead, he's very reactive, using parries and long blocks fired from his guard, and he often looks to fight hands and retreat. Strickland has big reactions, sometimes stretching out both hands while on one leg. It can look bad at times, but it's deceivingly effective. You could say Strickland makes a defensive read of what might be coming his way, prioritizing the most likely strike while trying to cover as many bases as possible in case he's wrong. A more conventional fighter might block a single strike while maintaining a solid base, bracing or rolling against anything unexpected. Strickland, by contrast, usually tries to cover as much ground as possible, often leaving one or two glaring holes. He takes a probability gamble, in a sense. His boxing is anchored by his excellent jab, which he throws straight and with good timing. He can track foes' retreats and intercept entries with it. His right hand is not as pretty, usually at its best when thrown straight as part of a 1-2, but he often throws it as a winging wide hook or a rainbow overhand, neither having ideal mechanics for placement or weight transfer. I always had this theory that Strickland seems like a fighter who developed his style through a lot of sparring more than technical instruction, sparring in crowded rooms in particular. Despite his big reaction, he's very calm under fire and deceptively hard to hit clean, especially by the big right hands you often see in MMA. His susceptibility to left hooks, however, is something to take into consideration. It's often the biggest weak spot for someone trying to hide behind the lead shoulder, and it's only made worse by his tendency to outstretch his hands to deflect strikes. Strickland is often described as a pressure fighter, but personality-wise I think he's more of a boxer-puncher who uses space as a weapon. His narrow stance and lack of good circular strikes have made him bad at cutting the cage and corralling opponents with forward movement, unless they accept it and put themselves there. Cagecraft is hard to develop in crowded rooms where you're usually forced to exchange and stay at range. On the flip side, and on brand with my theory, Strickland has sneaky footwork on an exchange-to-exchange basis, often lining up his right hand during entries while blinding opponent with his jab. He's also good at pivoting during exits to track opponents with long punches or kicks. Once you dive into it, Strickland's style is unusual and somewhat disjointed, but it makes a lot more sense than you might initially think, and it explains why he's so successful at a high level. I like fighters like Sean Strickland, not in the sense that I would always root for them, but because they bring variety and color to the sport. They show us that there isn't a single right or wrong way to do things. Instead, there's a constant evaluation of pros and cons between technique, tactical choices, and skill, which can ramificate in a wide variety of ways. What are your thoughts on Sean Strickland's striking style? Do you enjoy it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments. If you want me to break down the style of another fighter who brings something interesting or different to the table, leave your suggestion there as well. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and if you want to support me monetarily, you can join my Patreon for access to exclusive content, or head over to my Fourth Wall store to grab merch with original combat sport designs. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, guys.